All right, I honor those of you who are benevolent, decent beings out here in the universe watching whenever you're watching. I'm not going to tarry with all of my normal hour-long intros, okay? This is a very unique and specific video on my behalf, okay? Um, because I could imagine for onlookers all over the world that might have known me at some point or might have known excuse me, some of my extended family members or whatever the case is, like, how does this person end up, somebody that is from Southern California, okay, who ended up migrating to Las Vegas, Nevada for, with where family was, to how do they end up in some place like Southeast Texas? Especially considering the story of everything that I've been sharing since being in Southeast Texas. But I do want to say, you guys, that some of this stuff was happening in California, in Nevada. The only difference is that I have a heightened awareness of it now, on top of that, there's been more people added and there's been an intensification of what's been done. But for those who think that, okay, oh, they shouldn't have left California, or oh, they shouldn't have this, and oh, they shouldn't have, everybody has their opinion. This was happening. These things were happening. We were being poisoned in Nevada. Okay. Yes, by family. Okay. We were being poisoned then. Okay, all this stuff, because a lot of strange and unusual things increased when we left California. They were happening then, and it increased when we went to Nevada, and then it increased even more when we landed in Southeast Texas. So I wanted to share just a bit. I can't get into all because it'll be all day, all night. But this is how it happened. As I was staying with my elder sister, which is one of the main players in a lot of things that happened to me and my son in Nevada, as well as here. Okay. As I was, staying with her because I had been being majorly sabotaged there and didn't know it yet. Okay. I didn't know it in fullness yet. So I was just basically just trying to always clean up towers that I thought that I was responsible for. And I wasn't. Okay. Not in totality. Because, there's a part where you go, okay, I got to take ownership of my own life choices. But I always talk about how, yeah, that don't really fly when you have behind the scenes sabotagers, though. That kind of stuff applies to when you're in an otherwise normal dynamic like the rest of the world, where there's nothing weird and freaky about your life goings on. You ain't got nobody basically hoovering around you in a black hoodie as you attempt to build your life. Okay. So as I was staying with her, this last, I want to say the last go around that happened. So this is probably 2019. Okay. It was all of, I think, a couple of months in it, that I stayed, slept on her couch. Yes, they had house. Yes, they had, house with various rooms, and yeah. So I, was trying to figure out, at that time, I was trying to relocate anywhere, but I was wanting to get to Arlington. Back then, I wanted to get to Arlington, Texas, Fort Worth. It was certain locations I was trying to get that I knew about and had heard about from other people. So I didn't really necessarily pick. This needs to be understood. Okay, this needs to be very clear. I did not pick Southeast Texas or Beaumont Housing Authority per se. What happened was in Las Vegas, there was this agency. When you're going to seek resources, which is something I had to learn to do because of all of the strange and unusual things that was happening. So I had learned to be due diligence and look into any, what do you do? 211. What do? You start researching and looking for any avenues that could assist you with remedying something for you so you can build. Okay. So I had plan, and then I was like, okay, utilize the service they have for him and for me. So Darrell and I both, we went to this agency where they assist you. I didn't know that this was a thing until I went to this agency, but they assist you with, there's this way you can do like a massive applying for stuff. Because I was like, I remember asking the people, I was like, how do you do that if you're not in that state? Okay. And so they assisted with that process. So this is where it gets kind of dicey even to me, because it was him and me. See, what people don't know is Darrell and I both, where he grew up, where he spent most of his time, most of his years from elementary through graduating college. No, he didn't get a degree. They have, in California, they have, at least they did back then, they have programs for them to do like this. It's like workability, occupational, but it's on the campus and stuff like that. Okay. And so he went to Cal State San Bernardino. So now what people don't know, but see, again, that's why I smile, because I'm like, well, assume. Darrell grew up from 2000, I'm going back here, 2006. I want to say it could have been 2005 or 2006, up until we relocated to, family to so-called help and assist in 2016. Yeah, that kind of stability there. Sit with that. Because, I know what they're doing. I know what all of these people are doing. And the picture that they're trying to paint and the assumptions. That means he and I lived in one location from 2006 until 2016, specifically August of 2016. How many years is that? Does that seem flighty, fickle, all over the place, unstable? What people don't know is that both Darrell and I were tenants, residents of that said apartment. Both Darrell and I. I'm saying that for a reason. It was a 2-bedroom. And of course, since, when we initially got there, he was a little boy. Okay. So of course, I was just his, as standard a mother, because he became an adult while there. Okay. So if we were both tenants there, what does that possibly mean? It means that I don't have an issue that people thinking that I have. Their playbook of what they have been trying to stake claim on, to attempt to use as some kind of entrapment. Yes, I am 100% fully aware. So this is what ends up happening. Now you got to look at this like real-time life happening versus a bullet point presentation that you receive when you go get a lecture. So I applied, Darrell and I went to the agency. They assisted with mass applications across the US. I recall the because they guided the whole thing, because that was a part of their whole little program, like to try to make it easier for folks who are overwhelmed and da 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 da. Like that was a part of the whole spiel. And they are supposed to be having knowledge, being knowledgeable about all those things, and to make it a little simpler for you, and to take a lot of the drudgery out of it. So I recall both of us there and submitting both of our informations. Now, when something finally came through, because what they did, they tell you like, okay, we're helping you with the massive applications. Here's your, they'll send stuff to emails. Be on the lookout, blase, blase. It's kind of like they just help you with that part, and then you just wait. That's the extent of their involvement. So nothing came through for, let me see, for a long time. I want to say until at least a year and a half, to my knowledge, because I was using their address at first. Okay, that's another kind of sticky topic in itself. Okay, this is why sometimes it doesn't pay to be working with family and all that stuff, because okay, you're having your mail there, and if they cricket, bitch. And if they're nosy, if they're trying to set you up, you know what I'm saying, and you don't know all that yet, and so forth. So I go on, because remember, we were only able to stay there for the 2 months. That's typically all I could usually handle. If I look back at a lot of stuff, it's like past 2 months, it's it's like had to go. So as typical, every time that I would attempt to connect with family, something always happened. And it always had to do with some of the very similar things that's happening in Texas. Anytime I asserted and stood up for myself, even if it was calm and cool and collected, it didn't matter. This became a problem, and then they do the passive aggressive stuff behind the scene. Okay. So I left. I found a little weekly. I didn't know anybody. This is the thing. I didn't know many people. I didn't have an establishment of 5 and 10 years in Las Vegas the way they had. Okay. So I didn't have all these connects and, established and all that. So, and I had to bumble my way through. Because, everybody pretended to not be available when it was time for me to go get myself at the weekly. The whole thing. So I got us in a weekly, me and Darrell, I got us in a weekly, and was looking for work. I worked a couple of jobs I could. I walked, I was on the bus. This is before I had got a car again, because I ended up getting a new car. But um did all of that, and then at some point, mind you, my life is in a state of chaos. They're still doing things. They're still doing spells. They're still plotting. They're still having people follow and be rude and do weird things. All of this is continuing to happen in real time while I'm trying to figure my way through. Eventually, we received some mail at one of these weeklies. And remember, I'm still in like all over, like this is narcissistic abuse happening, the effects of all of that, head spinning, trying to make sense of everything. And I remember, you know, Beaumont Housing Authority contact, sending something, but it was just for Darrell. And I remember looking at it and wondering, like, well, why is that? I honestly couldn't figure out, why is it just him? Because the reason why I'm saying all of this way, and I went back to his childhood and back to the fact that we both were on, a part of programs and stuff like that. I had to do that so that I can draw the connection that there's an assumption I actually don't have a problem. So now I really, when that came through, I think, okay, when did it come through? Maybe 2020. Okay, and I was in between weeklies. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here's the deal. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to go with it or not. At that point, I'm not gonna have what it takes to even relocate for something like that. When that came through, still wondering, why was I not listed? But I wasn't fixated on it yet. I was still trying to find other remedies. So I was still trying to like talk with family. I was trying to do everything I could, so that I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do that big of a jump. That's what it was. I was like, okay, I'm glad it came through. I'm like, but that's a mighty big jump. And they only referenced Darrell, which was strange. But I didn't trip. My mind was spinning anyway, and I was trying to find other means. Now, here's what took place in the meantime, in between time, all of that. I filed for an extension because I had a job. I was making it, and I was trying to use the time to network, see what other option was available before I did that. And what did that involve? It involved me talking to my family, huh? Oh, we going there. We gonna go there. We gonna go there because, again, the assumptions. Yes, the older sibling. A couple of times I had reached out, but because I was working, I'd reached out to see, since back then, she was supposed to be real estate hot shit. So, they were supposed to be moving and stuff, and yeah. So I was like, okay, boom, boom. No, they had that. Okay, boom, dropped it. Because what I discovered, I'm like, these people want you beggars. Something wrong with that. That's an off energy. So then I go, okay, I was already on this path, and I was, had started a significant amount of healing. And I was like, okay, so what, I started having dreams. All kind of weird shit started happening. I'm like, okay, like, what the hell is going on? So I just said, fuck it. I was like, well, you're gonna have to ask. You're gonna have to see if there's something, because I knew I came from people who hide shit from me. And a lot of us, need to stop acting like we don't come from family that hides shit from us, especially when they crooked. If they gonna hide a Monopoly game, they sure will hide a house. I'm just saying. Somebody out there gonna know exactly why I said that. If they gonna hide the fact that they was using one of their children's credit and you know, blase, they sure gonna hide if there was some kind of major thing. I already knew. Okay. So I asked them, they denied it. Yes, my mother outright denied it. But I was able to tell the lie anyway. Yep, 2020. This was in 2021, the end of 2021. Maybe the beginning of 2022. Because that's another story. I'm going to have to do this in part because I got to get going here. Part 1, part 2. I asked her straight out. Yes, this is before the relocation. Yes, I did. I said, because I didn't have the answers and it wasn't anything like, it was just, I just asked. I was like, do you know anything at all? At all? About anything? I put it that way because you know how people try to get technical. I was like, do you know anything at all about anything that anybody, bitch, left to either me or my son? And that was general enough to be an easy enough answer. And she said, no, I don't know anything about any, no. I asked her if she knew anything about my sibling having any connections with any of my exes whatsoever. She denied that as well. I asked her if she knew anything about the sibling tapping into my iPhone and my iPhone accounts and doing any, you know, because she had gave my son a laptop, which that was hers until it got destroyed. And I know why it got destroyed now, because that was a part of the point of contact. Sometimes gifts ain't a gift. Because I kept getting that there was a house or there wasn't something left, that there was, you know, that they were doing stuff. And I was like, okay, you know, and I don't make decisions based on readings. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to ask if there's something. My decisions to deal with my relatives the way I had nothing to do with the readings. It had to do with the treatment. That's something else somebody going to wake up to someday. Okay. And then I was like, okay, well, we might have to do this. I don't know how. I'm going to have to figure it out. And so I was like, maybe I'll get us there and I will work everything else out once I get there. Because when you're pushed against the wall, you do what? You just say, well, I'm going to roll with it and we'll just have to figure it out. And most people think they know how they'll handle it. But again, until you are dealing with those circumstances in that manner without all of the cushy, fluffy stuff to do things and point A, point B, point C, until you're there, you don't have jurisdiction to even have a fucking opinion. Because it's all theory until you actually do it. So, because I didn't want to. And it was basically at the last minute, I put the extension in because that was me buying time. Because I didn't want to do it. So then when I accepted that I may have to, I had to find a unit. It seemed as soon as I started looking, that's when Mr. Mark Bounds seemed to be the very first one with the quickness. And we'll get into part 2 next.